Hello, David here at merchantaccounts.ca. Today I'm tackling a very frequent question that I get asked, or I shouldn't even say asked. It surprises a lot of merchants in the process of applying for a merchant account. It is, why do large tickets, expensive transactions make it so much harder to get approved for when you're opening a merchant account? Stay tuned and I'll explain why in just 1 second. When you process a credit card transaction, the card holder has to get what they paid for. If they don't get what they paid for, they get their money back. This is the core principle cardholder protection rule built into Visa and MasterCard credit cards, and it's a wonderful benefit for consumers. There's a problem though for merchants and ultimately for processors, because I'm holding like a little remote clicker that I use on my prompter here. This thing is worth, I don't know what it's worth, $50 or something like that. If I buy one of these and I don't get it, I'm owed my money back. And that might be $50. That's not that bad of a situation. But if I happen to be buying gold bullion on credit cards and I buy $1 million worth and it doesn't ever show up, now if I file a dispute and I have to get my money back as a card holder, it means that the payment processor and the merchant are responsible for that $1 million loss. Let me say it clearly. The card holder gets their money back. That money doesn't come out of thin air. It comes from the merchant. If the merchant doesn't have enough money because the merchant went out of business or they just disappear, it still has to go back. It comes from the credit card processor's pocket. And so the bigger the transaction, the higher the risk score goes. I mean, it's kind of obvious, but there are things you can do to combat it so it doesn't look as a negative remark on your business when trying to open a merchant account. For example, if you can work with your credit card processor and explain, hey, yes, we do very large tickets, but let's say it's a travel agency. We sell to very high net worth individuals and they are almost all return guests. Or for any customer that we're doing a first time sale to, we always have them send a copy of their photo ID or their passport, and we will do a phone call verification to ensure their identity. These are just things that you can do. What you want is to have controls in place so that if you are selling a high-risk product, the payment processor wants to know two things: that you're making sure that the sales are legitimate, so you have your own fraud controls in place. So that's on the customer side. And then on the merchant side, they also want to know that you're a legitimate merchant. They don't want you to sell a bunch of stuff, get a bunch of money sent to you, and then as the merchant, you disappear and run off to Tijuana with money that the payment processor now has to return out to cardholders who never got the stuff that they had paid for. So you would say, hey, we've been in business for 10 years. Here's our last 3 years audited financial statements from the CRA or the IRS. You could, if it's a really big account, you could offer to fly in and meet the team. What you're trying to do, it sounds so obvious when I say it out loud, but merchants don't think of it. Prove that you have a legitimate business, demonstrate it with supporting documentation, and have good fraud controls in place so that you and the processor, because you're both on the same side, neither of you want to lose money, show that you have fraud controls in place for when you're processing your large tickets. I don't need to go on too much more. This is a very simple, short concept, but if you do have a business where you process particularly high or particularly large transaction sizes, and you find it's hard to get a merchant account, or the processor's holding big amounts of money back, reach out to us at merchantaccounts.ca because we may be able to help. Thanks for watching and have a nice day there. Bye now.